Thanks for tuning in. This is the Tammy Tine Design YouTube channel. I'm Tammy, and today I'm creating the fourth and final layout in my Our Story Matters series. But before I get there, I wanted to share what I have left over from the last layout. I used some circles on that layout and I cut some extras that I can use on another page. I have some blocks of the blue stripe paper with the tiny florals on the back and a few blocks of this Polaroid print with the cut aparts on the back. I did use a full pattern paper background on the last layout, so I'm pretty happy with how much of the paper I've been able to use. I'll be adding these scraps to the rest of my leftovers here. And actually, I'm going to pull the stripe paper because I want to cut some more strips from this to use on today's layout. And everything else is what I have left over from my layouts using one collection pack. I'm very happy with my progress. Typically, when I use a couple of papers from a collection, I'm ready to move on to something else. In the 25 plus years I've been scrapbooking, I've never used a collection pack from start to finish. So this really has been a challenge for me. I will create a couple of bonus layouts with the scraps that I'll share in my next layout share video. I've linked the playlist in the description box below, along with links to each video. I've also created a sketch bundle that includes all four sketches from these process videos, along with bonus options for each one. That link is also in the description box below. Today's layout is the two-pager in this series. Here are the papers I'm using, and I'm going to add in the stripes from this paper that's left over from the first layout. These papers are the cameras on the white background, the floral on the dark background, and the pink tone on tone hearts. On the back sides, we've got hot air balloons, the tone on tone pink stripes, and tone on tone green leaves. This layout, because it is a two-page layout, will feature all three A sides and all three B sides. Okay, here are the photos I'm using on today's layout. I'll be cutting these into four 3x4 photos and matting them. And I did save some memorabilia to add to this layout, and I have that right here. This page will also have some cards from the cut apart sheets. I'll be using this 4x6 phrase card, the 4x4 journaling card for some journaling, and I also cut these two square phrase cards from one of the cut apart sheets. And this pink one came from one of the ephemera packs. I pulled a lot more die cuts for this page. Not all of these will make it, but I will have a big variety of options. This one reminded me to pull the wreath from the sticker book, so this wreath will repeat on the layout. I'll probably pull the second wreath from the sticker book to give me three for this layout. This is a two-page layout, so all of these cards will help me fill in where I don't have extra photos. So I'm going to go cut all of my papers and I'll show you the design for this page. I've cut the papers and this is essentially the background for my layout. My original idea was to have another smaller strip on the right page, but I felt like I needed to have more weight over there. On the left side, I will have the journaling and the title, and I feel like this bigger block of floral brings more weight to the right side while helping balance all of the extras that will go on the left. I wasn't sure how tall I needed each strip to be, so rather than waste paper, I cut all of the strips to the same size and I cut them in the middle so that I could arrange them as tall or as short as I needed. I want the patterns to show above and below the photos. My photos will cover up the middle gaps. I'm adding these strips of paper in a random fashion across both pages to cover up some of the seams and add a little more interest. I added white cardstock mats to all of my photos and the black cardstock mats to all of the cards from the cut apart sheets. Each page will have two of the 3x4 photos, and the 4x6 card goes on the right page. and the 4x4 journaling card will go on the left. With only these four small photos, I could have created a one-page layout easily. But with the help of the cards from the cut apart sheet, I'm able to fill in the space to create a two-page layout. One of the reasons I create one page layouts most of the time is I don't always have a lot of photos from an event to scrapbook. I pick two or three that I really like and make the page. But here, I thought this was a great design to add in some of the cut aparts. This is something I want to do more in the future. That's why I included options in the sketch bundle download. These spots can be filled in with photos, of course, but it's also nice to see in a sketch format different ways to fill in the photo slots. So I hope that's helpful to you. I will end up changing the placement of these cards, but for now, I'm just trying to figure out where they might look good. At this point, I hadn't decided where my embellishment clusters would go. And for this layout, I do end up with three main embellishment clusters and two smaller embellishment areas to support other elements in the design. I do know that the best place for my title will be under the journaling block on the left page. I will make my journaling card a pocket to tuck the memorabilia into, so that's where this will go. As with the other layouts, I do want to try to get as many of the die cuts on this layout as possible. I'm just not sure at this point where each of the pieces will go. And that's very much part of my process. Adding this piece here, moving it there, adjusting everything until I like how it looks. In general, I usually have an idea for where the main embellishment clusters can fit, but on two-page layouts, having so much more room, there's more space and more places where clusters can go. I won't figure it out until I have everything glued down. I suspect that some of these bigger words and phrase die cuts will not make it onto the layout. I will end up using this hot air balloon sticker that I had pulled for one of the other layouts and didn't use. And I will figure out how to get this other wreath on the page as well. So this is where I'm going with this two-page layout. I'm going to glue everything down and then I'll start embellishing. I'm working in the two by two cards into my design. I like where the pink and the blue ones are, but I'm still trying to figure out what I need to do with the green one. That hot air balloon die cut is not working, so I'm going to exchange it for the one with the floral wreath. And then that cluster starts to feel like it's coming together. Adding it to overlap the 4x6 card, these elements will help cover up the corners and the seams down in that right corner. I noticed too late that all of the hot air balloons on the paper got cut in half. So I'm going to add this sticker above the photo and add in a new hot air balloon. I'm keeping in mind that I have stickers left over from the other layouts, and I'm hoping to get some of those on this layout, like this pink butterfly here. At this point, I have the biggest elements where I want them, so I'm going to go through all of the embellishments and stickers and see what else is going to fit and where it might all go. All of the biggest elements fell into place quickly. On this layout, adding the cards from the cut apart sheets helped fill in the space on the layout, and in a way, they take up places where photos could go. I could have printed these photos in a larger size to have more of a presence on this layout, but I actually really like that the photos are all small and that you can see the patterns in the papers above and below the photo. And it's not too crowded. There's still space on the layout. My photos tell the story of what we're doing, but it's all the cards on both of the pages that expand the story and add words and sentiments to give them a richer context. I've said this many times in my breakdown videos. I often overlook the cut apart sheets because I don't create pocket pages that often. And maybe this particular collection is special and just brought in the perfect sentiments. But I love how the two by two cards fill in the details on this layout, and how the 4x6 card kind of puts a footnote at the end of the layout. All of that is to say, if you're like me and overlook the cards, take a second look and see if there are cards you can pull into your layouts to help you tell the story. That's why I wanted to include some option with the sketches in the bundle I created for this series for using more of these cards on our layouts. I understand, though, that we all have more photos than we will ever scrapbook. And most scrapbookers have the opposite problem. They want to get more photos on the layouts, not less. But if there's anyone out there like me who doesn't always have a ton of photos and you still want to create some two-page layouts, this is a great way to fill in the space when you need to. I'm adding in a yellow butterfly to this cluster below the 4x6 card. That gives me some yellow in two spots on the right, so I'll make sure to add a little bit of yellow over by my title. I like how the right page has filled out. One of my goals for this series was to use some cards from the cut apart sheet and to further embellish them. So I'm keeping up with that on the left page as well. I'll admit that I kind of meandered in finding embellishments for this layout. Other than adding in the cards, I didn't have a plan for any of the stickers or the phrases. So the rest of the layout process is just me pulling this or that, seeing if I like it, adjusting, and moving on to the next spot. It's funny, actually. I wasn't in a rush this day. I just took my time to go through everything I had and kept going until I had the right combination of things in each of the clusters. So often, I rush through this process. When I'm short on time and I want to complete a layout, I just rush it. When I go back the next day and look at that layout, I may end up adding in more finishing touches because something just didn't look right. Because I just took my time on this layout, I feel like I was able to strike a good balance between the two pages, and I got a lot of stickers and die cuts on the page without it feeling like there was just too much. I cut apart one of the 4x6 cards that had labels in all of the colors from the collection, and I used one or two on each layout. On this layout, I used two full labels plus a leftover piece from one of the other layouts, and I was able to use all of the labels, so that makes me really happy. On this layout, the labels are going to give me two extra spots to add in phrase stickers. I'm happy that I found places for brads too. I'm going to have a lot of stickers and embellishments and brads left over, but I feel good that a good majority of what I used on these 4 pages in this series also came from the collection. I'm already filling in with some of the champagne clear drops from Pink Fresh. I usually wait to do that at the end, but here it was good to add that finishing touch as I was adding in some of the smaller stickers. I could see as I was getting everything situated where they might fit. When it comes to two-page layouts, I don't always feel like I pull them off all that well because one-page layouts are my preference. But I really like how this design came together. All of the photos span the layout horizontally while the papers line in columns vertically in the background. Having each paper cut at different heights adds movement and interest in the background. This design is great for scraps. If you're at the end of a collection pack and only have scraps, this works. Or you could go through scrap drawers or files or however you store your scraps. Just small blocks would work. Depending on how big your photos are, you only need a little bit above and below each photo. I'd love to see this design with a monochromatic papers or even in an ombre design with the lighter shades on the left moving to the darker shades on the right. I love designs that build in versatility like this. As the final finishing touches, I will add in a few of these textured acrylic pink dots. This was one of the extras I had pulled from my stash. They didn't make it on any of the other layouts, but I felt with the 2 pages here, this one had space and they worked. I'm also going to fill in with some of the freckled fun puffy hearts. I'm not going too crazy with these, just a few into each of the main embellishment clusters and around the title. I'm also going to add a few more of the champagne dots in a few spots, and that's where I will call this one done. Because of this layout, I have a new layout strategy to add to my idea bank. Using cards on the cut apart sheet to help round out a two-page layout if I don't have a ton of photos. I love how all of the cards looked and how they helped give more details to my story. Thanks so much for tuning into this series and coming with me on my journey to use up a whole collection pack. In the next video, I'll share two bonus layouts that I created with all of the scraps. See you next time.